Dude, what the fuck?
I can't see because the fucking dog is barking!
Most new POE2 players don't quit because the game is hard. They quit because they start wrong. They skip quests that give permanent power. They cling to a level 3 weapon like it's a family relic. And they trust the default gem setups like GGG personally blessed them. Then they wonder why their damage feels like wet noodles. Whether you're brand new to POE2 or dusting off your stash tabs after a few seasons away, I'm here to make sure you don't become that player in the upcoming 0.4 league and beyond. Today, we're covering the early game traps that waste hours, the vendor tricks that can double your power in the first hour, how to navigate the intimidating passive through without accidentally breaking your build, and breaking down the system POE2 absolutely refuses to explain. And if you stick around till the end, I have some veteran-only tech most players don't discover until late in the end game, or after spending 100 hours in the game like I did. I also have a written guide linked in the description to easily follow along without having to rewatch the entire video 1,000 times. Now, let's start with the biggest mistake new players make before they even create their first character. Before you even make your character, POE2 throws a confusing menu of league options at you, but it never really explains what all of it means. So here's the simple truth. Path of Exile 2 runs on a seasonal system, and every new season, typically called the league, is its own fresh and self-contained universe. Your characters, items, trading, and progression only exist within the specific league you pick. Now normally the game has 4 leagues running at a given time, but don't overthink it. There are really just 2 leagues, Standard and the current seasonal league. Hardcore and solo self-found are just challenge modes layered on top. Now when a season ends, everything automatically migrates to Standard, which is like a retirement home. Nothing here gets deleted, wiped, or lost. But here's where most new players make their first big mistake. They pick Standard for their first character. I mean, I get it. They literally tell you this is the default game mode. However, Standard is the worst place for a new player. It's pretty much a graveyard of years-old items, a hyperinflated economy, and there are a bunch of new mechanics you won't even get to see here because they are league exclusive. So instead, you should always start in the current seasonal league, like the upcoming Last of the Druid League for instance, or at the time of this recording, Rise of the Abyssal. This is where all the new content lives. I'm talking new encounters, new gear to chase, new league mechanics, a fresh player-driven economy where everybody starts broke, and most importantly, an environment where new players can actually thrive. Now about those extra game modes, Hardcore has permanent death, which means when you die, your character gets shoved back into a softcore league. Fun as hell for veterans looking for a challenge, but terrible for newcomers. On the other hand, Solo Self-Found disables trading and partying, which are 2 of the most powerful tools you have as a beginner. There is absolutely no reason to handicap yourself when you're learning the game, chief. So here's your winning setup. Choose the latest seasonal league, leave Solo Self-Found unchecked, leave Hardcore unchecked, and voila! You are now in the softcore trade league, which is exactly where 95% of players start every new season. And this is also where you have the smoothest, less painful experience. I mean, at the end of the day you play the game however you see fit. But your early decisions define your entire league start. And making the right choice here sets you up to progress at a much smoother pace. One of the fastest ways to sabotage your league start is by picking a class the same way you pick characters in a normal RPG. Like, you know, the usual warrior equals strong, mage equals magic, rogue equals sneaky. In POE2 though, your class determines where you start on this gigantic passive tree, what early stats you have access to, and which ascendancies you unlock later on. For instance, a ranger starts near projectile damage and evasion nodes, while a witch starts near spell damage and energy shield nodes. Then a ranger can ascend into these ascendancies, while a witch can ascend into these. Unfortunately, the game is not going to tell you which ascendancies you unlock until you actually get your first ascendancy points. Oh yes brother, you are expected to figure it out on your own or by browsing wikis like we still in 2005. So here's the better approach. Instead of picking a class first, pick a skill fantasy. Do you want to blow up screens with giant AoE? Do you want to punch things barehanded like you lost a bet? Do you want to Hulk smash your way through every encounter? Or do you want to simply avoid getting your chips clapped every 5 seconds? Once you know the skill and weapon type you're excited for, only then you pick the class that starts closest to its strongest passive and synergies. Or just look up a guide, man. Look, we all did it at some point anyway. If you still don't know what to pick, well, here is a fast starter pack. Warrior is your easiest melee tank, super forgiving, and great for learning the game. Ranger or Mercenary are very fast at leveling, with tons of movement speed, and range gameplay smooth as butter. Then you also have the Witch, who has early access to insane damage over time setups that melt screens. Regardless of what class you pick though, here is a pro tip most beginners don't know. All the gear in a league can be shared among your characters through your stash. So if you start as Mercenary, find some cracked early gear, but then start getting your cheeks clapped in Act 1 and decide actually, Ranger go brrr, just stash your gear, make a new character, beat the tutorial boss, and enjoy the free upgrades. Just first make sure you meet the level and start requirements, chief. And now here comes the big one. Listen man, every game out there train you to skip side content if you want to level fast. If you bring that instinct into POE2 though, boy, you might as well uninstall in advance. You see, in POE2, the most important permanent power in the entire campaign is hiding behind optional bosses and side quests the game barely even acknowledges. Let me show you just how wild this gets, and this is just in Act 1 by the way. You can get plus 10 cold resistance from this witch you literally meet 5 minutes after leaving town, and plus 4 free passive skill points from Crowbell and Una's loot. Do you know just how many powerful passive skill nodes you can grab with 4 extra skill points? But that's not even all. You get plus 30 spirit from hidden fights like the King of the Mist in Freytown, letting you run stronger auras without draining faster than your will to live in hardcore, and plus 20 to maximum life from the Candle Mass. This is a boss you can completely miss if you just rush to the Act 1 finale. This is foundational strength that makes every boss fight, every zone, and every late game transition smooth. Furthermore, side contents also unlock essential tools like the salvage bench for dismantling gear and creating artificer shards, or in simple terms, early sockets on demand. You also get some guaranteed early loot from unique chests, like the mysterious campsite in Clearfair where you can get your first skill gem upgrade, a hidden utility like the Witch Hunt Cauldron for upgraded mana and life flasks, and in Act 3, a sneaky little campsite hiding the Lesser Jeweler's Orb that gives your main skill a bonus support slot early. Hell, the game doesn't even tell you any of this clearly. It instead hands you a treasure map and decides to hide the legend in this sneaky corner. Like, how many of you actually knew this was even here? Thankfully though, you at least have a way to track what you missed. Optional quests and bosses show up as flashing badge icons on your map. Badge icons that have a little cross in front of them are the juicy ones that grant permanent stat boosts and extra skill points. Then grey icons represent what you already completed. In summary, as a beginner, explore everything. You are not a speedrunner yet. And even the real speedrunners never skip permanent power unless they are going purely for completion time. Now to make things even easier for you, I'm going to link in the description an article written by this absolute legend, which clearly outlines every single permanent buff and secrets that you can easily miss in the campaign. But before you go digging through that list, we need to talk about something that cripples new players even faster. Ah yes, if you ever wondered, why is everything suddenly two-shotting me? Congratulations my guy, you just met Zone Level Desync, the silent killer of new POE2 players. Here's how it works. Every area in the campaign has a monster level, and your character's experience gain is directly tied to that level. Now if you fall too far behind, monsters will delete you, and if you are too far ahead, they give you less XP than a tutorial enemy. So what is the sweet spot then? Stay within 3 levels below the zone's monster level, and once you finally reach the zone level, that is your signal to rush the objective and stay efficient. You can check the area's monster level by pressing tab on PC, and you'll see it show up in the right hand corner of your screen. If you're on console or on a controller, that's your down button. But what if you do fall behind and start getting your buns flambéed by the boss? Simple. Go to your waypoint, control click any zone you desire, and choose new. This is going to spawn a fresh copy of the area full of monsters and bosses to grind for experience and loot until you catch up. And no, I didn't forget about you folks on controller. Resetting an instance there is as easy as holding A or X on the zone you want to reset, then wait for the instance manager to come up for you to select new instance. Oh, and this trick works both ways, by the way. So, say you forgot to complete an optional boss, for instance. You can jump back into the old instance and finish it without having to re-clear the entire zone. Bottom line is this: don't rush just because you can. Don't grind bad XP just because you're behind. Manage your level relative to your current zone, and you level faster, die less, and stay miles ahead of players who blindly sprint into content their characters can handle. Oh, this one is gonna hurt, because I'm guilty of doing this too. Rushing past vendors thinking, nah, I'll find something better later. This is one of the worst early game mistakes you can make. Why? Because vendors in POE2 refresh their inventory every time you level up, and they can sell absolute bangers. I'm talking high damage weapons that can double your DPS, movement speed boots, which you absolutely need to progress faster and stay a step ahead of monsters, or perfect item bases you can craft on. But the harsh truth is, if you broke, you're just gonna stand there watching god tier upgrades despawn like a sad window shopper. This is why gold is your most important early resource, and the way you get it, selling everything that drops the correct way. See, the thing is, most players dump unidentified gear into vendors and walk away with scraps. But if you take half a second to identify everything first, oof, you can literally triple your profit. Best part is you don't even need to use scrolls. Just go to the hooded vendor in town once unlocked, control left click, and your entire inventory gets identified in one click for free. Now, I'm not sure if there's a shortcut on console to do this, but you can simply just talk to him and do the same thing. Oh, speaking of shortcuts, here are some extra ones that make you feel like a speedrunner. Control left click to open a vendor's first service, and Alt left click opens the second service. Super useful for vendors like Yuna, who have both disenchanting and buy sell. If the vendor only has one service to offer like Renly, control click takes you straight to whatever they offer. Now, what do you do with all the stuff you just bought or discovered in the wild? Well, here is a little cheat sheet to help you decide. In reality though, veteran players often sell nearly everything they don't use until they hit the end game. Why? Because stocking up on gold in the early game snowballs into better flasks, better weapons, better bases, better early crafts, and a faster campaign progression. Then if you really want to level up your efficiency, do what the pros do. Use a regular expression like this at a vendor to find desirable items with the best modifiers instantly. In this example, this regular expression will help me find any boost with movement speed, anything with maximum life on it, or any best in slot bow for my ranger. Beautiful part is you don't even need to have a PhD in regex to write one of these. You can simply head to this following website, select your affixes, and simply copy paste into the vendor search window. This saves you hours over the course of the campaign because you instantly be able to spot high value items at a glance and skip past all the noise instead of doing manual searches. This also works in your stash tab to help you filter your dumpster pile of loot, by the way. And here's one more power move. You can use regex at vendors to stock up on socketed or quality gear. Then once you unlock your salvage bench, you can salvage those for artificer shards and armor scraps used to add sockets and quality to better gear. This alone puts you ahead of most new players in the first few acts. So here's what you have to remember. Vendors are not in the game just for window shopping. They are your power-up station. Use them. Sell right. Salvage smart. Search intelligently, and you're going to outpace everyone like you speedrunning in real life. Look, if you're wondering why your clear speed suddenly falls off in Act 2, even though your skill gems are leveled up and your passive tree looks clean, the problem is almost always your weapon. See, here's the truth nobody tells new players. In the early campaign, your weapon makes up well over 80% of your damage. For weapon-based builds like bows, crossbows, staffs, maces, and more, your skill gem might as well be a decoration if it's sitting on a weak base. Take this level 5 short bow for instance. Great rolls, beautiful stats, but it absolutely gets embarrassed by a level 16 recurve bow with 0 mods. This is simply because the item level, which determines the range your affix modifiers can roll within, gives you access to higher damage tiers. So a high item level base is always going to have the higher possible rolls. In other words, your skill gem level literally means nothing if the stick you're waving is from kindergarten. Now, how do you get better weapons early? Well, there are a few ways to go about it. You can actively shop vendors. We already covered this in length previously, so stock up on gold early to be ready when the perfect weapons appears in town. Stop hoarding transmutation and augmentation orbs. If you find a good white base, turn it magic with one, then add a second mod with the other. This combo alone can carry you multiple acts if you learn godly affixes. If you find a strong item level weapon with something like 80% increased physical damage on it, spend that regal orb. Omens and essences can be found very early in the game from abyss encounters or killing rare imprisoned monsters. These guarantee your crafting outcomes and force powerful modifiers on your gear, so don't sleep on them. Vendors like Fiend or Risu in the early acts let you gamble with gold, but wait until level 28 or 29. At that point, the item pool jumps into higher tiers, so you can roll gear that will normally drop for you yet. This is great for bow builds and melee weapons. You can also choose to farm higher level areas, because area level determines your item level, and bosses drop loot typically 2 levels higher than your current zone, so if you're strong enough, farming higher zone gets you higher tier weapons faster. You can even reset regular bosses infinitely, with the trick we learned earlier about resetting instances. If you're playing with martial weapons like bows, quarterstaffs, spears, and so on, then spend some time in Red Veil, where you'll find a buffet of chests like this, or refined arms like this, which guarantees martial weapon drops. Now, if all else fails, don't forget you can always trade with other players. Once you reach Act 4, you get access to asynchronous trading, so you can buy upgrades even when the seller is not online. Bottom line, upgrade your weapons early and often, because everything else like passives, skills, auras, or your meme builds will only work once your weapon is good. Get that upgrade, slam some runes on it, buff the quality, and go slice through the campaign like butter while everyone else is in the global chat asking questions. Okay, it's now time to talk about the number one fear of every new POE2 player, and honestly, every returning player too, and that's the passive skill tree. It's massive, it's confusing, it looks like a cosmic spider web designed by someone who hates fun. That's why so many new players freeze up, waste points on defense too early, or try to balance their tree, then end up with a build that's neither strong or survivable. Here's the simple fix to that. Until you reach level 60 or above, all you need to worry about is stacking damage, period. Why, you may ask? Because in a campaign, killing fast is your defense. Enemies can hit you if they're already dead, my brother. But how do you know which nodes actually increase your damage? Step 1. Read your skill tags. Every skill in POE2 has tags like spell, projectile, AoE, and so forth. These tags are basically your cheat code for navigating the passive tree. Now, inside the passive tree menu, use the search bar to type those tags you found earlier. On controller, this is even easier, because here you can apply a custom tag filter instead, and now the passive tree is instantly going to highlight every node relevant for you. Then once you find your relevant node, you can hover over one of those nodes, hold Shift or R3 on controller, and this shows you exactly how that node is going to affect your active skills. No guessing or wondering if that node is actually going to do anything for you. And if you ever mess up, no biggie. You can respec most nodes by paying a small gold fee at the hooded one. Even start only nodes like +5 strength can be swapped to dexterity or intelligence with one click with no full reset needed. Now, the rule about following the path of more damage is great and all, but if you keep dying in every boss fight, you are not progressing, chief. That's because early act bosses deal specific elemental damage, and having 0 or negative resistance against them is pretty much a death sentence. So before a major boss fight, like Count Geonor in Act 1 for instance, consider boosting your cold resistance. Stack some fire resistance against the angry lady in the mines of Act 2, and lightning resistance against Gemara at the end of Act 2. This could be as easy as equipping elemental charms, or wearing elemental rings in both slots for defense. The passive tree is massive and intimidating, but once you know how to filter it, mold it to your needs, and preview results, it literally becomes a custom roadmap to raw power. Oi oi, if you made it this far, congrats! You already have a massive advantage over other new players, but POE2 still hides a bunch of sneaky mechanics and veteran tech you have to discover on your own. So here are some hidden tactics that can massively boost your early game. The very first zone of the game has a gold farm literally nobody talks about. See, once you wash up on the beach then grab your weapon, you want to look for the checkpoint nearby, and right next to it, you find a chest that spawned your first skill gem. Now if you were paying attention earlier, then you know checkpoints can be manipulated, but here you don't even need to reload the instance. You can just head to your pause menu, select respawn at checkpoint, et voila! You can keep doing this until you have 10 or more skill gems, head over to town after smacking the boss, and sell these beauties for gold. This can make the difference between buying a crack early weapon, some movement speed boots, or getting turned into confetti in Clearfield. Ever seen someone blaze through a campaign in 5 hours while you spend 3 days trying to see the end? Well my friend, welcome to POE2 map layouts. These maps are huge, twisty, and totally different between softcore and hardcore. Even with the addition of map checkpoints, efficiently traversing a map with no sweat takes time and a good memory to be consistent with. Now if this is your first time doing the campaign, by all means, take your time and explore everything. But if you're a returning player and want to cut your time in half, let me introduce you to the POE2 Campaign Codex Discord. These guys mapped out every campaign zone, every layout variation, every shortcut, and every boss path. Just pop it on the second screen and you can never get lost again. Now if you prefer a written guide on efficient map traversal, I got you. I mean, this Giga Chat got you. I'm going to link in the description his beautifully written campaign layout guide, which has some of the most detailed and yet simplified map layouts I've ever seen. Trust me when I say a few minutes spent here learning layouts is easily equal to an entire day saved in a campaign. This tool is a game changer in every way. If you ever feel overwhelmed by the amount of things to do or keep track of during the campaign, get Exile UI as soon as possible. This free third-party tool turns your chaotic league start into a guided, handheld, and optimized run. It's going to overlay a step-by-step guide throughout the campaign so you never feel lost, lays out the map for you so you never waste time running into dead ends. Better yet, it even lets you automate regex vendor searches, so one click finds all your upgrades. And these are only the basics. It can do so much more, and I could easily spend the next hour discussing those advanced features in detail, but I've already taken enough of your time as it is. So I'm going to link below some guides on how to get this set up and how to use all those features. Fair warning though, the setup process can be a bit tedious, but once it's rolling, it's like having a leveling and league starter coach built right into your HUD. Most beginners make the mistake of holding onto a level 10 flask while they are level 30, or worse, never upgrade their flasks, but then wonder why they die sneezing near a boss. See, a flask in POE2 is going to scale with your character level, so the golden rule here is to always check for a new flask every few levels, or better yet, take a screenshot of this so you know exactly at which levels you should start looking for a new flask. And when you do find a new one, your priority is to use the transmutation and augmentation orb on it to add 2 affixes that can easily change the game for you. I personally look for affixes like instant recovery on life flasks, as this literally saved my life more than I care to admit. But other ones like charges gained per second are very key to surviving long boss fights. We touch base on how and why you should be upgrading your weapons often, but knowing when to upgrade your weapons is even more important than the upgrade itself. This is because weapon bases evolve as you level, so you want to know ahead of time which weapon base is ideal for your build and take note of when you unlock higher tiers based on your current level. For example, say you're playing Deadeye Ranger. The best bow you can use for that build is the dual string bow that shoots 2 arrows instead of 1. Knowing this, head over to POE2 DB, go to items, select bows, filter by regular bows, and you're going to see that you don't unlock the dual string until level 28. The next upgrade unlocks at level 54, and the final upgrade unlocks at level 78. Armed with this knowledge, you know not to waste currency on a level 24 basic bow when you're obviously only 5 levels away from a dual string bow that is going to literally double your DPS. Now here's a feature everyone misunderstands. Your passive tree actually has 2 kinds of skill points, normal passive points and weapon set passive points. This you get from leveling up normally, and this you get from those extra skill points you get from completing the optional bosses we spoke of previously. Now if you're only using one weapon, well, just spend everything on your main tree like you normally would. However, if you're using two weapons like say a lightning staff and a fire staff, you can allocate points separately in each tree. One tree can boost your fire damage, while the other boosts your lightning damage. This is a system designed for hybrid builds, but only useful if you actively swap in weapons mid-combat. Thankfully though, you can assign your skills to a specific weapon set, so swapping weapons is as easy as just pressing the skill tied to the weapon. In reality, this is something you don't even need to worry about on most builds, until you hit the endgame where optimizing your damage really matters. But you can actually take advantage of this very early, because on a crossbow build for instance, the ammunition swap and reload speed can be extremely slow and annoying at early levels. So you can pretty much use two crossbows, with each one assigned to a specific ammo type, for an easy wombo combo that skips the animation swap and reload animations. Let's try to keep this short. Loot filters are essential for any RPG because they clean up the clutter on your screen and make important drops impossible to miss. For POE2, all you gotta do is head to Filter Blade, select how restrictive you want your filter to be, customize it further if you like, preview what the filter will do for you, then export it straight into the game. Oh, by the way, if you're following a specific build, Filter Blade has a build adjuster for most builds out there. Simply pick this option when you're creating the filter, select your class, your gear, and this will automatically highlight desirable gear drop bases for your build. Also, if you're following a YouTuber's build guide, many of those will offer a custom leveling filter, optimized for their setup, and this can make your early game 10 times smoother. These hidden mechanics are how veterans get ahead, without grinding longer, without stressing harder, and without wasting currency. Use them, and you'll find out your campaign run becomes smooth, controlled, efficient, and honestly, pretty damn fun. Hey, look at you! You made it to the end! If you're still here, you're already ahead of 90% of new players. Because the truth is, most people quit before they even learn why they are struggling. But you, yes you my friend, you now have the blueprint to start any future league like an absolute pro. Always remember that starting strong in POE2 is never about playing perfectly. You simply need to work on avoiding the avoidable. And everything in this guide was designed to make your league start smoother, faster, and 10 times more fun. Big shout out to Gaunan from my Discord for helping me refine some of the tips in this video. Cheers brother! If I achieved my goal here and saved you from a painful league start or a rage reroll, feel free to drop a like and share this video with a friend starting with you. Subscribe so you don't miss my build breakdowns dropping in 0.4, and leave in the comments what's your league starter in 0.4. Also remember that all the guides, tools, and resources I mentioned in this video are all linked in the description. So use them, abuse them, and steamroll your league start. Until we meet again in 0.4, stay stylish, stay untouchable, and may your crits always be juicy.